Listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not just another war story. This is a situation where the world is standing on the edge, and for the first time in years, there is a real and growing atomic threat. A war that started with missiles is now moving towards something far more dangerous. Because when two powers, like the United States and Iran, collide, it's not just about bombs. It's about what happens if nuclear weapons enter the game. And right now, the signals are getting louder. It all began on 28 February 2026, when the United States, along with Israel, launched massive airstrikes across Iran. These were not small attacks. Hundreds of targets were hit. Military bases, missile systems, and even leadership locations. And in a shocking moment, Iran's supreme leader was killed. That single event changed everything, because from that moment, this was no longer tension. This became full-scale war. Iran responded immediately. Missiles, drones, launched across the Middle East. U.S. bases were targeted. Israel was hit, and the entire region turned into a battlefield. Airspace shut down, cities went into panic, and millions of people suddenly found themselves living in fear. But here's where things get more dangerous. This war is not just being fought with bombs. It is being fought in cyberspace, in oil routes, and in global economics. Iran began threatening and disrupting the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway through which nearly 20% of the world's oil passes. And when that route is blocked, the entire world feels it. Oil prices rise, economies shake, and global stability starts collapsing. Now, let's come to what happened in the last 48 hours, because this is where things have taken a serious turn. First, the United States has started preparing what officials are calling a possible final blow. This could include massive bombing campaigns, direct strikes on nuclear facilities, even potential ground operations. This is no longer defensive action. This is preparation for something decisive and dangerous. At the same time, Iran has rejected a U.S. ceasefire plan. Instead of backing down, Iran is saying clearly they will end this war on their own terms. No compromise, no immediate negotiations, which means one thing: this war is not slowing down, it is escalating. Meanwhile, the battlefield situation is getting more intense. Strikes are continuing, including fresh attacks on key Iranian locations like Isfahan. And every strike brings retaliation. Every retaliation brings more escalation. But here is the most alarming development: the weapons stockpile situation. According to defense analysts, the United States may start running low on critical missile systems within weeks. Thousands of munitions have already been used, and replacing them could take years. Think about that. A superpower engaged in a major war with limited time before resources become strained. That increases pressure. And when pressure increases, leaders start considering extreme options. And that brings us back to the biggest fear of all: atomic escalation. Right now, there is no confirmed nuclear strike, but the risk is real. Because Iran has long pursued nuclear capabilities. The U.S. has made it clear it will not allow Iran to succeed, and both sides are now under extreme military and political pressure. This is exactly the kind of situation where nuclear threats begin to appear. Now, let's talk about the global impact, because this war is not just happening in the Middle East, it is affecting the entire world. Economically, experts are warning that if this war continues, inflation will rise sharply, especially in the United States. Fuel prices will increase, supply chains will break, and ordinary people will feel the consequences. Militarily, the region is becoming more crowded. More ships,
more aircraft, more troops, and with every additional force, the chance of a wider war increases. Politically, countries are divided. Some are trying to mediate, others are preparing for escalation. And behind the scenes, there are intense negotiations that may or may not succeed. But the biggest question right now is simple. What happens next? There are three possible scenarios. First, a ceasefire. If diplomatic pressure works, both sides could step back, but right now, that looks unlikely. Second, a prolonged war. Missiles continue, airstrikes continue, and the conflict drags on for weeks or even months. This is the most likely scenario right now. Third, the worst-case scenario, a major escalation, possibly involving direct attacks on nuclear facilities, regional war spreading beyond control, or in the absolute worst case, the use of nuclear weapons. And if that happens, this will no longer be a regional war. This will become a global crisis. So when you hear about this conflict, remember, this is not just about two countries. This is about global power, energy control, military dominance, and the future of international stability. Right now, the world is watching, waiting, hoping that the situation does not cross that final line. Because once that line is crossed, there is no going back.